Hi guys, welcome to my channel and I hope you enjoyed my first video.
Perfect, so we're starting off with the Urban Decay B6 Vitamin Infused Complexions Prep Spray, and that's going to prep my skin ready for my Nivea Men's Aftershave Balm. And this is just going to be used as my primer because it really helps everything stay on a lot nicer, and also it feels a lot smoother. And I don't really like a lot of silicone based primers, so this is really nice as it really feels more like a moisturizer. I rub it in until it feels tacky and a little bit more drier, because that now means that it's ready for anything to go on top of it, and it just acts like a double-sided sticky tape to the skin. Next, I'm using the Pro Conceal and Correct palette from MAC in medium. I've used mid peach and mid yellow, and I've mixed them together and used them under my eyes and more around the areas that I'm a little bit more spottier. This is just going to really take the colour away and give it a bit more coverage for when I put my foundation on. And what I'm going to do is use a beauty blender with a little bit of Fix Plus spray on it and push it into the skin and just blend it out a lot nicer so it's a bit more thinner underneath my foundation. So next I'm going to be using NC20 in Studio Fix Fluid, and this is from MAC as well. I've been using this for a couple of months and I really feel it does great wonders for my skin. It's so hydrating at the same time with it being matte foundation, and it also is really oil controlling, and that helps my skin a lot. I'm just using a damp beauty blender really to push it out on the skin and make it a lot more of an even coverage. You can see a little bit goes a long way, but then I also top up a little bit more when I need a bit more coverage. So next I'm going to use the Full Coverage Foundation from MAC. It is a pro product, but I'm using it in NC20, and I'm just pushing that in all over on top, and that is very, very like the Studio Finish Concealer. So it is very thick, but I'm just using a thin layer over the top just to set my foundation as well. Next, I'm going to be using the Select Moisture Cover in NC20, and this is just going to go under my eyes and around my forehead and down my nose. This is a concealer, but I just like to use as a base first, and this just gives a custardy colour to my eyes and takes away any redness, any blueness as well. I always like to blend my products out with a damp beauty blender. I personally find it's the best way. It gives it more of a flawless look. My skin's very textured, so I think it gives it a nicest finish to my skin, but you can use anything you want. Next, I'm going to use the NW15 Pro Longwear Concealer. So this is a little bit more of a thicker matte concealer, and I'm using this more as a highlighting concealer, so taking it right up to my temples, under my nose, and up to my eyes as well, in that little V shape, and that's just going to brighten up my skin, really lift it as well, and it gets it ready for when I want to contour later on. Setting that also with a little bit of the Laura Mercier powder. Now this is a new product of mine. I have used it only a few times, but I've always heard good reviews. So I've just used a beauty blender, pushed it underneath, kind of like baking, and that just helps set any wrinkles, fine lines, and keep it from cracking later on. And I am using it around the nose because my nose gets very oily. A little trick that I learned from one of my friends is using it under the contour lines, and that also just preps your contouring for later. So for my eyebrows, I do need a lot of work to my brows, and I should have got them done beforehand, but I am using the Dip Brow in Pomade in Chocolate, and I'm just using a small angle brush and then sculpting it with the Studio Finished Concealer in NW15. I like to use spiked eyebrow pencil from MAC too, and that just softens the edges so it isn't too sharp. Also gives a little effect of little fine hairs, so it looks a little bit more natural. I also set around the edges with a little bit of that powder just to keep it set. So next I'm going to be using the Soft Ochre Paint Pot. Everyone loves this paint pot that I've ever used it on. It is a great thing to really hold every eyeshadow that you're going to put on. And next what I did was a little bit of that Laura Mercier powder and then put on Uninterrupted along the crease. I used a small buffing brush from MAC and I just really buffed that product out so it had no harsh lines. And then next I used Embark and I put that in the outer corner and then took it around my crease and then went back to my buffing brush and buffed it out so it was a little bit more diffused. So next I'm going to be using the Eye Studio Lasting Drama Gel Eyeliner at 24 hours and it's from Maybelline. Now I used the brush that I got with it as it's such a sturdy little brush and I just took it from my inner corner outwards and then I really straightened up them lines to make it a little bit more sharper. And then at the end I used a little bit of carbon eyeshadow just to blend off and diffuse the end of that liner. So next I'm going to be taking the Electric Eel eyeshadow from MAC and that is just going to come under my eyes and I'm really buffing it out right into the inner corner to the outer corner and I'm pushing it out downwards so it's diffusing outwards as well. I used a little bit of Embark on top as well along my lash line just to give it a little bit more darkness so it was fading from colour to colour. So next I'm going to be using the Beyond Twisted Lash, which is the newest mascara from MAC, and it is a bendable wand, which I quite like when you're wanting to get into the corners of your eyes and get your little lashes as well. It is more of a defining mascara, but I liked it as I was wearing lashes. I'm wearing the number 7 lashes, and I used the Geo Glue. And then I went over with a little bit of upward lashes to give it a little bit more of high definition, a little bit more thickness to the lashes as well. Lastly, for my eyes, I'm using a little bit more of the Pro products, and this is Blue Reflex, so it comes in a little pot and it just reflects blue when you buff it in. For my skin, I'm just using the medium golden skin finish all over, and this is where I'm going to be buffing out a little bit more of that bake that we put on earlier. To really contour and warm my cheeks and my face, I'm using the medium deep mineralized skin finish and taking this down my cheekbones, around my forehead and around my neck and really buffing it out as I don't want any harsh lines. And I just like to use a small angle brush for this, a really nice fluffy one though, as to make sure it is nice and buffed out. So for my blusher, I am using Harmony and Blush Baby, and this just gives a bit more warmth to my skin. And I buff that a little bit more around my forehead as well and down my neck, just to give it a little bit more warmth. And this is also a good trick, going back in with that Laura Mercier powder and just sculpting them cheekbones again and then buffing it all out. Gives it a lot more softer but still dramatic look. Now my favourite highlighter of all time has to be Soft and Gentle by MAC, and I'm using a small buffing brush and I just sprayed my skin and then put it straight on and it just highlights the skin a lot nicer. So for my lips, I'm going to use a retro matte lip just so it stays on a lot longer, and I thought with the sparkle in my eye I wanted a bit more of a matte lip, so I'm using Lady Be Good on the outer and then Back in Vogue a little bit more in the inner of my lips. I am using this as a lip liner as well, as I didn't really want to change the outer colour, and the applicator for this lip is so good. It gets such a precise line as long as you're using it right. So lastly but not least, just using the Urban Decay setting spray all over my skin, and that's just going to keep it on all day.